Welcome back to another episode of Retail War Games. Today we have Garrett Blood, CEO of KJ.
When you and I were chatting about Summit, and you're like, how creative can I get for our booth? You know, because there's not a ton of space there to have like a lot of extra tables and stuff.
Right.
That was probably the single smartest thing you could have brought, is just a random stormtrooper, because everyone's like, what the heck?
Oh, it was fun because, like, you know, some of the billboards that we have is hiring without imperial entanglements.
Yeah.
Oh.
And it was in Star Wars font. And so then what we did is we created a banner stand that was really wide and said the same thing to kind of mirror what we had on the billboards. Yeah. And then we put the stormtrooper in front of it. So it's like, without imperial entanglements, it like registered with the Star Wars nerds of Utah. And so I think that'll be kind of an ongoing
You should add a
thing.
new one every year, though.
So the next one is going to be, if you're familiar with Rogue One, K2SO, which is that huge 7'5" robot that looks menacing, and he's the comic relief of that movie. That's what we're going to do. I literally was going to buy the 3D printed kit that someone has printed. It's like 50 pounds, and you have to assemble it and paint it and all that stuff like that. And I go, that'd be a fun project to do. And it'll stand next to the stormtrooper. I just don't know, but it's like 7'5". So it's very menacing, and the eyes light up, and it was like, whoa. So put some blood on it, it'd be perfect for your son.
Oh,
right?
probably.
Yeah.
He would. We all know this. As long as it's a reptile or something that's going to scare somebody, he's happy. Cool. But no, I think that's what's so cool is, even if I'm not a Star Wars, geeking out, mad creative respect. And you can't help but respect Star Wars. It's impressive. It's absolutely impressive.
Movies of the 80s and 90s. You know, I just feel like, if you remember, Mel Gibson had a hit every year that was just amazing. Everything from Signs, The Patriot, Ransom, tons of other movies. And then Will Smith, he was just hitting every single year with Independence Day and I Am Legend. And I mean, he just goes down through the list, and you're like, man, these are blockbusters. These are the tentpole movies. And now it's just, there isn't much there.
That's
which is
fair.
sad.
I saw an announcement, totally off topic, kind of off topic. I saw an announcement this morning for Shrek 5. That's big for me, because Shrek was my childhood.
Yes.
And as an adult, the adult humor in Shrek just gets better. And then they announced another Shrek.
Shrek 5?
Yeah.
I did not know this, but I am elated.
Oh, I'll be me and all my friends. We will be front row in that movie theater for Shrek 5.
No way.
That's exciting. That's so exciting.
I don't know if I've seen the fourth one, let alone. So anyway, I got to catch up, and because I kind of liken it to, if that's the case, Toy Story is coming out with a new one as well.
Yep.
So it's like Tom Hanks, I guess, needs more money or something.
Yeah, apparently.
He's like $300 million or something.
I love it. Well, I want to dive in. I want to know everything about ice cream. That's kind of where I'm I want to hear where it started, what just you in a nutshell. How'd you get the idea? I'm ready. I want to hear about ice cream.
There's only a few people that I know that don't like ice cream.
Yes.
My wife is one of those.
No
Super rare.
way.
She used to always tell me, why didn't you create a pie company instead? I'm like, because all the people that are craving pie every day, it's doesn't exist. It's like Thanksgiving, I'll have a slice. That's it, right? No rinse and repeat like ice cream. And but I remember early on in our marriage, I think we had been married 1 or 2 years, and I would always crave ice cream after the gym. And I'm like, if I go to the gym and then leave the gym and crave and eat ice cream, I just negated everything I just did. And so I said, man, yeah. Anyway, I was thinking about it for a while. And one day I'm at lunch with a friend of mine, and I see a frozen yogurt machine and this is like a sandwich shop. And I point over to it, and I go, why can't that stuff be healthy? And it was kind of that was the clicking moment in my head. And I said, there's no protein ice cream out there. How hard could it be? And so go off, and we buy a soft serve machine and start experimenting and throwing all sorts of crap in it and almost breaking the machine, come up with some nasty concoctions. We're this is pre-ninja smoothie ice cream type of realm, and we're just trying to figure this out and dumping whey protein in it and all these different things. And finally, after like 1,000 iterations, we stumble on a formula that you don't want to spit out. And so we're just like, hey, this is half good, And all right.
That's what it came to.
Yeah, and we're like, and
It's acceptable.
yeah, it's acceptable.
I guess I'll eat this.
It's acceptable. And I mean, typically your kids are a really good determiner. When they
Yes.
spit it out, you're like, okay, start over,
Yeah.
And so it was fat-free, it was gluten-free, it was lactose-free, it was diabetic-friendly. It was 150 calories for the entire pint,
Amazing.
20 grams of whey protein concentrate, 8 grams of fiber, and it was all natural, clean ingredients, no sugar alcohols, no goofy flavor additions, anything like that, and it tasted good. And so that was like the cherry on top, right? And,
And this category didn't really exist.
didn't
Right.
exist at all, and it was...
So was it like the ice cream aisle, you just have all this garbage and then like randomly like the healthy section, and it was just you?
That's right. There was like Weight Watchers, So Delicious, which was a soy-based ice cream. So good. No, I'm kidding. That was nasty, right? It's like your dog won't even eat it, And then that was like it. And there was a couple of other small offshoot brands, but there really wasn't anything there.
Yeah.
And it was, our whole tagline was, so good you won't know it's healthy type of thing. And the answer to your 10 o'clock sweet tooth, right? Because it's like, all right, well, based on the serving size, I can only eat half a cup of this Ben & Jerry's or Haagen-Dazs that's, 1,400 calories for a pint, 80 grams of fat. And you're like, okay, this is 3 minutes of indulgence is 3 hours on the treadmill, And it's
Exactly,
like,
though.
no,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so we got it into one grocery store.
What was
And
that grocery store?
That
was
was
the first one?
This is funny because it was Sprouts.
Ah,
But it
yes.
wasn't Sprouts as we know it.
'Kay.
They owned the trademark to Sprouts and then got sued by the Apollo Group because they wanted the name. And so finally they relented, they sold. But Sprouts in Temecula, if anyone knows where Temecula is.
Yeah.
And we had worked that out and got on the shelf. And it was like, thanks for taking a leap with our brand. My wife's on the corner with a sign waving it, free samples, And we get in there, and they're like, wow, that moved really good. And so they started ordering it up. And then we got into another one. And distribution's super hard to do if you're starting out.
Right.
And so we go to the distributor, and this was Nature's Best, if you guys
Okay.
know Nature's Best, back in California. And then now I think they were purchased by Unify. And they said, well, you need to get some commits. And so we had to go around, and we talked to like 30 stores.
Right.
And they said, oh, yeah, I'll commit to doing that. And I'm like, we'll do demos, and we'll do BOGOs, and we'll do free fills. We'll get you set up. And they're like, okay, great, terrific. So we'd go in there, and we would sell to all the different consumers in there and built up a little fan base in all these stores. And before long, Nature's Best was like, you're moving good product. All right, we'll start ordering a couple pallets. And we're like, terrific. And that's how we got our start. But then we, and over time, we scaled from that one store to 30 to 100 to 1,000. Ultimately 10,000, or I should say 10,000, then ultimately 18,000 grocery stores. So it was Haagen-Dazs is the number one ice cream in America in a pint. Ben & Jerry's was number 2, and we were number 3.
Yes.
And, but yeah, it was super fun. We were able to do it without slotting, so we didn't have to pay $1 to get into any of those stores or play their games or anything like that, mainly because it was so unique. And people wouldn't buy one pint, they would buy 5 pints, 6
Right.
pints. And so the turns in a store was dramatically different.
Well, and that's what I was going to ask is, what did the marketing look like? Because were you just marketing to the ice cream category in hopes that people that feel like they're pretty healthy people, they just eat a ton of ice cream, would feel better by purchasing your ice cream? Or were you marketing towards the people running 10 miles a day because they were super fit and
Right.
they wanted a healthier choice?
Well, what's interesting is I thought, how do we create a product that has no excuse for someone? And we said, okay, we're going to attack it from a calorie standpoint. Okay, people want something low calorie. Got it. Someone that's diabetic has nasty options. It's malatols, sorbitols, just straight up laxatives as a sweetener in a product. We're like, okay, diabetics can eat this now. people that are lactose intolerant had to give up ice cream a long time ago.
All of
They
it.
can now eat
Yep.
it because it's practically 100% lactose free.
Right.
And then you had the other folks that want natural, clean ingredients, or the folks that want protein or fiber. And again, taking away that excuse from folks. I mean, there was a lot of people that came up to us, they're like, thank you. I eat 2 pints of this every night, and
Right.
I look better tomorrow, type of thing. And so it really worked out. And
cool.
you know, because the running joke was, what you eat in private shows in public.
Yeah.
And so it was one of those
Ooh,
things where
yeah.
so it had a mass appeal, but we put the calorie count on the front of the package. No one had done that yet, ever put a calorie count on the front of a package. And my wife had given me the idea. Part of the reason why she doesn't like ice cream was the coldness associated with it. She hates the cold, yet we live here in Utah now.
Did it hurt her teeth or?
Just she doesn't like the cold, you know.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to hold a cold pint of something, right? And so she refuses to go down to like a freezer aisle or something like that. She's like, you go get whatever. I'll be over here in produce, you know. And it was one of those things where, how do you capture the eyeballs of somebody when you have all that good in a product, but it's on the back of the package?
Exactly.
How do you get someone to reach in for it, right? And so I thought, what if we put the calorie count as a marketing, you know, just that trademark, if you will, on the front of the package that advertised to consumers that were like, well, that's interesting. They grab it, and now we've got them. And
Yep.
now they read it and go, wow, I'll give this a shot. You know, throw it in their cart for $4 when it was cheap. Now it's like, you look at pints of ice cream, they're like $9. I was in Whole Foods in San Francisco once. This was like a year ago. And I'm looking, and they had like a pint of ice cream for $17. And I'm like, is there gold in that pint of ice cream?
Yeah,
what
what's
in the
it made of?
world? But
Yeah.
it's just funny where it's at. But yeah, sorry, the long roundabout way to answer. It was trying to appeal to a lot of different pieces of the market.
Well, and I love that because a lot of brands are like, I don't know what to do. We're unique. Is that going to be bad? Is it going to be good for marketing? How do I do this? And I think what you guys did is you looked at it as a problem and solution, and we are the solution, right? Like,
Yeah.
look at, we're for everybody. We're going to fill this for every single person, and we're going to put it right on the front. So
Yeah.
you know, look at us. We are the solution, and
Yeah.
educate everybody on this new category. Truly, that's what you created. was a
Totally.
new category.
It was funny because we do demos, and we were, by this point, we're in maybe 100 stores, and we're still doing demos. I'd be doing demos on a Saturday, and no problem getting out there in the trenches. I love doing it because I get super passionate about stuff. If you can't tell, and it was one of those things where we'd be demoing it, and people are like, "This is terrific, this is great," and then I'd say 1 or 2 out of 10, they're like, you know, they spit it right out of their mouth into the trash can in front of me. They're like, this is terrible. Don't quit your day job. You know, it was kind of like almost like Mr. Wonderful was talking about your product. It doesn't have a chance in hell, you know, type of thing. And so it was one of those things where we're like, all right, there's haters, but we didn't make this to compete with Haagen-Dazs or Ben & Jerry's. We wanted to go after the market that says, I can't have ice cream, I want ice cream, or this doesn't work with my palate. You know, what is there? And
Right.
so that's kind of where it went. But, you know, it was interesting trying to get the word out. You know, like, how do you educate the populace about this? And Facebook was still fairly kind of new. There was no such thing as influencers at that time. And when I say this, we were in about 2008, 2009. So everything was kind of new from a social media standpoint. And we got and people are like, how did you guys get your big break, if you will? How did you get it so
How'd
that you
you
could get
do it?
into
Yeah.
stores, right? And so so before there were influencers, there were folks that would write the Yahoo News articles, basically. If you guys remember Yahoo, before there were an op-ed, it was kind of a cool site to go to get your news. Now it's total junk. And one day I was reading an article by a food guru. Her name is Lisa Lillian, also known as Hungry Girl, had a ton of New York Times best-selling books, Eat This, Not That type of thing. And I recognized her name. You know, I'd read her articles a lot on Yahoo News. And very famous with like connections with Nickelodeon and directing and producing movies and shows and different things like that. And one day I'm at the Natural Food Show Expo in Anaheim, California.
Expand your team's skill set and drive conversions. Volcanic Retail University offers specialized courses to keep your brand ahead in the retail game. Go to university.volcanicretail.io and apply code podcast50 for 50% off.
Expo West, and we're giving out samples and stuff, and here's this lady that walks by, younger lady, and she's like, oh, this is pretty good, this is great. She has a name tag on, and it says Lisa Lillian. I go, you're Lisa Lillian, you're Hungry Girl. She's like, yeah. You're like, I'm recognized, this is cool, right? And so we started kind of talking about stuff, and she says, you know what? Next time you're out this direction, in fact, she was in LA actually. She's like, next time you're out in LA, why don't you guys stop by? I want to try more of your products. And we're like, oh yeah, sure, that'd be awesome. And so next time we were in LA, you better believe we went over there. Yeah. Gave her some pints, she tried it, the entire office tried it, and they're like, these statistics, these calorie counts and these numbers, there's no way. This is too good of a product. And so, shortly after, I was talking to her one time when we were out in LA again, and she's like, Garrett, I'm going to talk about Arctic Zero on my email blast. And I'm like, awesome. She's like, no, you don't understand. I have 1.3 million subscribers that open my emails and read them religiously.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. She goes, so when I talk about your product, watch your sales. And so she's like, but I'll give you notice when I'm going to do it so that you can prepare. And I'm like, all right, terrific. And she's like, get ready. And I'll never forget, she gives us like a week's notice. She's like, I'm going to be writing about you in a week. It'll drop at 12:01 a.m. Buckle up. Okay, all right, terrific. We're going to sell.
And this is like pre-influencer world, so
you didn't really,
no one knew what to
Nobody
expect
knew, and I'm like,
now like marketing teams are like prepping for that moment.
Yes, and I'm like, all right, we'll sell.
Did you guys pay her?
What?
Did you pay her?
No, she doesn't take it. She would never. She does not take a dollar, and never would take a
nowadays
dollar.
she would have been like, I want equity in your company.
And that's why she was just such an awesome, genuine person, because she's like, this is my opinion. This is what I think. I don't receive a dollar from anyone, nor do I ask for it. And so she was awesome. And so, long story short, getting the website ready, making sure we've got bandwidth, making sure we got product in inventory, everything's queued up. By this point, we were in Amazon anyway, and we were and so I'll get to that number in a second. But part of the reason to facilitate getting product from point A to point B was with a customer that could not get it in a local store, they could go to Amazon and get it delivered next day, basically, packed in dry ice in an insulated container. So she's like, okay, get ready. This is the day it's going to drop. It's going to drop like Wednesday morning at 12:01 or something like that a.m. And so I'm like, okay, all right, let's plan on this. And part of it too is we knew there was going to be consumers that could not get it, and they're going to be pissed. Like, they're like, I can't drive 80 miles for some ice cream, even though we did have people that would do that, which is crazy. And so what we did is on our site, I put a list that basically said, print this out and hand this to your store buyer or manager, and they can order it from the following distributors. And we had the barcodes for each of the products and everything, so that it was very scanned, done, on the order, arrive in 2 days type of thing.
Did you guys track on how that changed your whole company? Did orders increase? Did people start to want your product at that point?
Yeah. And so she talks about it, and she's like, you can eat this, and this is what it compares to, and basically look better tomorrow. It's kind of like, break up with your boyfriend today, make him jealous tomorrow. Eating pints of ice cream, you know what I mean? It's just like, wow, how did you look amazing. What did you do? What was your secret? Ice cream. And so anyway, it drops, and all of a sudden I'm waking up to like a call. Garrett, we're in trouble. I go, what are you talking about? And I all of a sudden pull up my email, and I've got a couple hundred emails, and it's 6 a.m.
Oh my gosh.
100. And it's not the type of like that needs a yes or a no. It's like, hey, where are some of the stores that I can go to buy this? And they're asking all these questions. And it's like, oh, this is going to be a twilight day. You know, I'm going to get into like midnight or 2 a.m. the next day answering these emails. And we go and we find out Amazon is just out of product at record speed. And so we change inventory levels even higher than we thought, and we're just going through product like crazy. We had to order 3 FedEx trucks for the day just to keep up. And what's crazy is our site was down, and people are getting livid.
Was it down because of the volume?
It was down because of the volume. And all of a sudden I call up GoDaddy, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? We're paying extra for like this server. It's not shared. What's going on? 1 second, sir, 1 second. And he goes on and he drops an expletive over the phone to me. And I'm like, well, that's a customer service guy saying that. You know, it's like, I've never heard that before. He's like, I'm so sorry, sir. I've been here like 5 years and I've never seen this type of volume on a website before. I go, what? He's like, honestly, you're getting about 40 visits per second is what you're averaging. And I'm like, he goes, that'll take everybody's site down. He's like, hold on. And so he moves some stuff and allocated resources. He goes, you'll be back up in like 10 seconds. I'm like, awesome. Good. I said, we're good to go. He's like, oh yeah, you're gold. And so anyway, he's like, I've never seen this before. It was super cool. But what ended up happening is we were starting to consume so many resources. Like we kept ordering dry ice by like the metric ton just to meet demand, insulated containers, product that was going out just to satisfy Amazon, to the point where we became number 57 of 552,000 food items on Amazon.
Overnight too. This isn't just like we've built. This is instantaneous.
It was super quick, and it was chocolate peanut butter and vanilla maple were the 2 flavors that just like were just out of stock almost all the time, because it was just rinse and repeat. And so the FedEx trucks kept coming, 3 a day, fill up the entire truck, in addition to it being in all these different stores now. And it got to the point where Amazon owed us a lot of money. And as you know, they can make you or break you.
Yeah, very true. And some brands even say, I can't do Amazon for, pros and cons reasons.
Yeah.
So that's very, very true.
And so, I mean, we owed all sorts of money to our vendors and stuff. And I reached out to our main contact over at Amazon. Teresa was her name. I still remember it. I go, Teresa, I'm turning off the spigot. I go, you guys owe us so much money, we're going to go bankrupt because of the amount of money that you owe us.
Oh my goodness.
And she's like, no, don't turn it off. Give me 30 minutes. And so she goes and talks to the senior VP of grocery of Amazon.
Wow.
Who then talks to Jeff Bezos. And then they call me back and they say, we're moving you to net 15 terms, which is crazy
Amazing.
rare. It's like there's very few companies that have net 15 terms. And we're paying you every dollar that we owe you as of today, and you'll have that check in your hand first thing in the AM tomorrow. And we're like, score. And it's funny, I was telling Garrett Clark this one day, and he's like, dude, you debt collected Jeff Bezos. In perfect Garrett humor fashion. I was like, I'm going to steal that. I love that. That is so funny, but it's true.
Right.
And then the rest was kind of history at that point. We're on Dr. Oz a couple of times, and he said it was his favorite dessert of all time, and that really helped rally it, amongst folks as well. And then it became kind of that household name, and then we started getting distribution with Nestle, and you know how things go with Nestle. So it was good.
I want to circle back really fast and just say I think that there's a really, really good best practice here that I know the brands listening need to know, which is this whole thing came from you looking at a name tag. And trade shows are so busy, right? Like, at what point do you stop and actually be like, oh my gosh, you're a buyer of where? You're an influencer of where? You're who, And I think that that's such a really good best practice that you forget in the hustle and bustle of being at a trade show. And she made your guys' brand. Like, that's amazing for you.
It probably saved us a good 3 to 5 years.
Right.
And I've sent her messages over the years, and I just said, hey, I just want to thank you again for a decade ago for just being amazing at helping us get our start. And I said, anytime I attribute the success of Arctic Zero to someone, I always mention you because of what you did for my brand, as well as I know so many other countless brands by just bringing attention to it.
Amazing.
And now, of course, everything is, there's so many products. I used to always joke, no offense to anyone that owns a chocolate company or a salsa company, but they're a dime a dozen.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, well, ours has chili pepper in it. Oh, okay. Ours is made with hemp oil. Ugh, okay, and it's just like these weird products,
It's
Anyway.
so true. Okay, I want to also circle back because I have a question on how this worked. How many stores, just so a brand knows, did you have to get interested before the distributor picked you up? And how long was that for you guys? What was that timeline?
So, this is a strength and a weakness, but
Okay.
I'm like supercharged on a regular basis. And so the moment that I knew from a distributor that we needed to get commitments, it was like a mad dash as quickly as we could to get commitments.
Right.
And so they're like, if you get about 20 to 30, let's talk. And we'll see what we can do about getting an order in. And so we basically free fill 30 stores. And I go to them, I'm like, okay, we got 30 commitments. It was like 27 commitments or something like that within like 3 days of them asking for commitments. And again, it was just going, okay, you're in Orange County and San Diego. It's like, okay, I'm going over to Mother's Markets right now, and I'm going over to Sprouts, and I'm going over to Erwin's in Los Angeles, and you're going to all these different stores getting commitments, and they're ecstatic because they're like, I've never heard anything like this, and I'm telling them that they're going to get amazing turns, and it's not going to cost them anything, and prove us up, that it doesn't work. And Nature's Best puts in that first order. It was like a pallet and a half, or I can't remember what it was.
Right.
And that started the ball rolling. And then the next one was reaching out to, I think it was UNFI West. And then there was other ones like, I don't know, they're still in existence. KE, SunOpta was another one that we worked with. There was a lot of other small offshoot distributors that we would use. And it was just, again, little by little kind of expanding. And what's nice is almost as if they have spies at some of the distributors. Like, wait, this product is doing really well.
Right.
We need to bring this on. And before long, we started getting these other distributors rather quickly. And part of it was because people were demanding it.
Yeah, that brand awareness aspect starts growing.
Yeah.
But what I'm hearing is you did a regional approach, right? So you got this huge region interested, and then the brand awareness started growing. So that's amazing.
Well, the big issue with that is this is ice cream. So to ship it from San Diego to New York to a buyer, for example, it was costing us like $120 to $130
wow.
to send product, and 90% of that cost was shipping. And so I thought, and this is part of the reason why when I was at a food show, Amazon came up to us and they're like, "Have you ever thought about using Amazon?" And I thought, how do you ship ice cream? Oh, we're Amazon. We can overnight stuff or 2-day air it, no problem. And I went, wait a minute. What if we could piggyback off of Amazon to get our product to other parts of the country? I go, we will sell it to ourselves, but ourselves will have an address in New York, in Florida, in Indianapolis, wherever. And I said, let's run it until they say we can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And so then what we started doing is we started shipping the product around the country because our effective shipping rate ended up being less than like $12.
Yeah.
And so now we're able to acquire these new customers for like less than $20.
Yep.
And so now it was like we were able to just get it point A to point B. And the thing that was super fun was our metrics and our rankings were going through the roof because it was like, wow, you're getting so many turns. You're like, yeah, it's,
Yeah.
and we're paying ourselves for buying our own product. But the thing is with Amazon back then is they had something that was amazing for building brand equity. And what that was they would send out an email to different people that had ordered some natural product or something in the past and said, we recommend the following products. We would suggest you buy something like this. And so we were getting all this free advertisement from Amazon telling people that were in looking at natural foods. You should order this. And so we were getting a lot of traffic from folks online. They're paying $46 for 6 pints of Arctic Zero ice cream.
Stein Collection represents 3 award-winning hotels: Stein Lodge, the Chateau Deer Valley, and Stein Eriksen Residences, each located in Park City, Utah, within the prestigious Deer Valley ski area. The flagship property, Stein Eriksen Lodge, is Utah's first and longest-running Forbes 5-star hotel and has been voted the best ski hotel in the United States for several years running. Consider these legendary resorts for your next family getaway or corporate event. For those who seek the best, there's only Stein's. I have a revolving question in my head for you.
Yeah.
Did your wife ever get a pie ice cream? Like, at what point does she get like her ice cream that she likes?
She, you know, again, it was the cold component. So she wasn't a fan of
The colds.
The cold. So
Okay.
it was one of those things where she'd eat it or she'd mix it into a shake or something like that. But for the most part, it wasn't there. But we did have, I remember, a radio personality in Manhattan, New York, who she's like, Garrett, I'm talking about it all the time on the air, that this is what I love. And her husband was Stu from the Glenn Beck program that I find out later. And she, so they've got a ton of influence across the board. You know, she's in Manhattan and he's on that network. And long story short, she's like, I love your product. And I said, you know what? You've talked about our product so much, we're going to name a seasonal flavor after you. And so her name was Lisa Page. And so we named her, we named it Page's Pumpkin Spice Ice Cream. And pumpkin spice, as you know, is
Yes.
like, you know. And so it had pumpkin in it, and it was huge. It was a huge undertaking to have a seasonal product. We're like, this sucks. And so after like 2 years of doing it, we're like, Paige, sorry, but I will, here you go. Here's 100 pints. We can't do this anymore, you know? And so that was super fun. But no, my wife never, we never did a pie ice cream.
What year was this when it all began?
So we started in frozen yogurt, actually. And so we got tired of dealing with yogurt shops that wanted a high caliber Ferrari product, but they were demanding it at a Honda price, basically. And they're like nickeling and diming us left and right. Oh, price per ounce, all that kind of thing. And I said, you know what? I don't like this market. I'm not going to be dealing with frozen yogurt shop owners across the country. This is like the slow build. And so we said, let's move away from that. Let's go into retail, which is like a funny thing to say now. People are like, retail, what? And so we kind of went that direction with it in 2008.
Okay.
We were on military bases. We had made a soft serve product for the military. And that had its benefits and issues as well. And we're like, okay, not that it's simpler to go into stores, but it's like, let's just pick a lane and we're going to go that direction, even though you've got specialty and you've got mass and you've got C stores and you've got club. And it's like, oh, wow, we've opened a can here, you know, I got to figure it all out, you know? So anyway.
So how from 2008 to 2024, what would that look like if you had the idea now to start this?
You know, I think Bucked Up did a really great job of working with a lot of micro influencers across the page. I think that's one of the main ways in which you could really get some traction is, you know, working with folks that they've got a great following of 20,000 people here, 10,000 people here. You only need like 8 consumers regularly at a store that are buying 1 or 2 pints a month to keep a product on the shelf. It's probably a little bit higher than that now because there's so much competition. But that was the goal of doing demos, was to build a small following in each store and then rinse and repeat into more stores and get that track. That's pretty much how I would run it today. Granted, I mean, there's so many other methods and ways in which we could really blow it up. But I was mentioning earlier that I get approached like every month from someone. There's no whey protein ice cream on the market anymore. It's all vegan crap. And it tastes terrible. And, you know, that ice cream is made with CBD oil, and that one's avocado, and that one's kava root. And it's just like, yeah, I know this is all this weird stuff. You know, it's like we need a recession for all of those to get cleared out and then put some quality back on the shelf.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've been thinking about getting back into that space again because it's kind of fun.
Right.
So
here's my question for you. I feel like you played in almost every channel in retail. Truly, you did. What was the most fun channel to get into, to break into?
Fun. Let's see.
Are they fun? They're pretty difficult. Maybe
some
I
of
should
them
have posed that differently.
Fun. Well, I loved natural and specialty because
Yes.
they really put their arms around this product because it was so different and it was satisfying a need. Mass was like, we'll see how it does. You know, maybe you'll pick up 10 or 20% of the market in our store for ice cream, right? They're like, whatever. And C-stores, convenience stores, they don't even want to talk to you because unless it's got sugar and caffeine in it or it's alcohol, they're like, you know, it's like sushi in 7-Eleven. Like, no one buys it, right? And by the way, I don't know if you've ever seen it. Sushi is in 7-Eleven. I don't know if it was made a week ago.
I've seen
or
it.
what.
My goodness.
It's sketchy.
Okay.
And I wouldn't recommend it. And it's like buying sushi in like Kansas City, Missouri or something like that. I was there once and someone asked me, they're like, hey, there's a sushi place down the street. Should we go there? I'm like, we're in Kansas City.
That's a 7-Eleven.
Stay away from that. You know, you want food poisoning, go there. But people always talk about Costco, for example. Costco is a super mixed bag because they want you to do road shows relentlessly. I lost my voice so many times. And in fact, I had people come up to me. They're like, I've got PTSD because I can hear you on the other side of the store. And I'm like, but I got you over here. And so we would move product, and they want you to move about 100 units a day at a road show to prove up the concept. And we would do that religiously in the San Diego market, which is interesting because San Diego market actually extends throughout most of, like, part of Arizona and Nevada at the time. And you're like, this is a weird geographic area. But we did so much work for Costco, and they were moving a lot of product, don't get me wrong. But the goal was not so much that, I mean, and they never keep a product in stock. I mean, let's be honest. It's always like, oh, it's on an end cap. Oh, we're going to take it. And all of a sudden it's gone, you know, and then it reappears in 9 months. And we just felt like we were getting played a little bit. But the thing that was nice was the brand exposure. Like the moment you see something in Costco, you're like, this is going to be a good deal. I should be on the lookout for it. It's probably at a local store for more. All right, I'm going to try it.
Yep.
You know?
This is a really, really good tidbit for all brands. Road shows build your brand awareness. They're tiring, they're taxing, they're painful, and they take your voice, but they build that education for sure. And the sell-through from just doing road shows is amazing, amazing.
Yeah, and it was, honestly, it was a great way to move product that was getting close to, like, it'll expire. You know, or something that we want to move through. It's like, oh, we're going to blow through product. Let's put it right there, right? And because otherwise you've got a Julian date that's going to expire here, and you got to take that off the shelf or something like that. So anyway, fun.
Oh, I love this. I love ice cream now. I feel like I'm going to be hungry all day. Like a yummy treat. That's so true. Well, okay. Well, what's next? What's next?
So, you know, I was telling Colin a while back, it's not in food, but it's actually a pet product that one day, I have it on the shelf right now. I'll get to it eventually. It's got a design patent and a utility patent on it, but it would basically it would take the basket with a flower on it that's on a bike and remove that altogether. Because it's like, you look at that, you're like, this isn't the 1950s. You have a basket holding a little dog on it, and it just looks so Wizard of Oz, right?
Yeah.
And
Everybody said.
So I was thinking, what if we put a platform on that had something that almost looked like an aerodynamic race car helmet or something like that, where a pet could be inside, they're hyper protected in it, it's wind resistant. I mean, And you can put a cat in there or a dog in there, whatever. You can push a button and it'll go into a car seat in your car. It'll go on a piece of luggage. Very easy to move a pet around. There's nothing on the market like it. And so it's a $100 billion industry in America every year. I was like, people are spending $300 on a polka dot clown outfit for their cat for Halloween. You're like, what the heck, right? And or they're dressing up their iguana. They're paying $80 for some tutu that goes on an iguana, and it's like, man, there's kind of a market here for not just normal people, but the crazies as well, right?
Oh, yeah. My son would put a snake in it and ride it around town.
Oh, yeah.
Like, let's be real. It would be a boa and people would be shocked. Yep.
So there's nothing like it on the market. I've looked. Everything else is like kind of lame, like, you know, a canvas bag with like cuts in it. And it's just like, this is tacky more than anything. And so probably you'll get to that eventually, but I'm in a completely different space now.
Yes, very different.
I own a premium staff augmentation company. It's called KJ, and it stands for the names of my kids, Kate, Ariana, Jack, Alexa, Ethan. 5-letter domain, that still existed, and it means gift from God in Jamaican. And I'm like, wow, it's not a misspelling, it's not some funny play on words, it's like an actual word. And my goal is to take brilliant, amazing talent from 27 countries. They have advanced degrees, bachelor's, master's, MBAs, PhDs. They're the top 3% in their country. They've got Fortune 500 level experience, and they speak English like all of us. We have to listen for an accent a lot of times. And my goal was to pay them 5 to 10 times more than a living wage so that we could take them from poverty and move them into the middle class in 60 days or less. And
wow.
that's what we do. We find amazing clients throughout the United States that say, you know what, I'm having a hard time hiring. I need a senior accountant. I need an e-commerce expert for Amazon. I need a Klaviyo expert for email management. You know, I need someone that can really handle, you know, the inventory issues and SEO, dealing with all these different retailers online. Who do you got for us? And so we've got a couple billion-dollar brands. If people know like Solo Stove or Solo Brands, for example, they've got a bunch of our people that just hit it out of the park in all the different countries in the world.
Amazing.
And I call it conscious capitalism because our team member wins, our clients win, and we win. And that triple win is something that I geek out about because I've seen lives at my company change because they went from poverty to middle class at record speed. You know, they're buying cars for the first time. They're buying their houses for the first time. I have a member of my team in Venezuela. Her name's Sarah. She speaks 4 languages. Imagine 4 languages. I mean, she's that, you know, it's unbelievable. 4 languages, has 2 master's degrees in fine art, worked for the United Nations. They hardly paid her anything for what she did. And she found us, she started working for us, and after about 3 weeks, she sends me a picture of a bed, and she goes, I just bought my first bed. And you're like, you are more educated, more talented, more experienced than the majority of, I hate to say it, a lot of crybaby Americans, you know, and you're buying a bed, and Americans are complaining that their internet's not fast enough, you know? And so just seeing that, I never got that from ice cream. As much fun as it was, but like seeing people saying, well, I don't work 3 jobs anymore. I just work 1 job, and I get to eat dinner with my family every night, you know? And they're all 100% remote. And so, you know, clients pay us about 80% less than a domestic hire.
Right.
And they're not dealing with workers' comp. They're not dealing with payroll tax. They're not dealing with entitlement. You know, it's funny. In California, when we had the company functioning, and before we sold it, and had all sorts of employees, it took someone full time just to deal with the state of California because it's just such a nightmare to work in that state. And what was interesting was we'd have folks that would just get out of school and they're like, well, I'm graduated, I've got a bachelor's degree, I need 6 figures. I demand $120,000 a year and free massages on Fridays, And it was like, no, you've got no experience. Give me a break. And fast forward to COVID and the global pandemic, one of the blessings that came out of it that I always mention is telecommunications as we know it went through the roof and improved. Zoom, everything.
Yeah.
Remote work didn't become something weird anymore. It was like, oh yeah, that's functional. And so then it opened up the world. And so, I mean, we've got a member of our team in Africa, for example.
Amazing. Yeah.
And it was really cool. He goes, Garrett, he was talking about Elon Musk. He's like, Elon Musk put Starlink in the sky. We have internet. And that means I can work from my
Anywhere.
village.
Yeah.
And so now this guy that's highly educated is able to work for a US company here and support his family, all because he has internet now that flies through the air, through those satellites. And I was just like, what an awesome time that we live in.
Yeah.
And how unfortunate people are like, well, bagging on America or something like that. I'm going to move out of the country, capitalism's evil, that type of thing. And I'm like, conscious capitalism versus vulture capitalism, like in Wall Street, where there has to be a winner and a loser in every transaction, and people are getting screwed left and right, unless you're an institution or something. Anyway, you got me on my soapbox talking about that stuff. Sorry about that.
No, it's clear where your passion lies, and I love seeing that what you've learned also from ice cream to where your ambitions are going to be in the future, and how they all play within each other. And it's clear that all of the steps were meant to be there, right?
It's the failures. I mean, that's where it comes from,
Yeah.
You're like, oh, we butchered that. Terrible job there. And it's like, oh, okay, let's adjust that, So.
Right. Well, no, I just want to take the time to thank you. It's been amazing, from like ice cream, pet, to saving the world, beautiful heartbreaks. You've done so many things, and it was just an honor to sit with you and hear more about what you're doing. And anyway, just thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on here. And if I can be a resource to anyone that's trying to get into and break into grocery or something like that, love to see what I can do to help them or point them in the right direction.
Or it sounds like companies that are listening that need help all over the world.
Right?
Yeah, if, anyone, especially startups. Like startups are like, well, we have very little money, or someone that has a seed round, they raise some money, but they want to pay someone over here 6 figures right out of the gate, and they're going to blow through that money. Hire an accountant that, we have accountants, we have engineers, mechanical, electrical, civil, nuclear. I mean, you name it, type brilliant architects, industrial designers. Like someone wants to draw up their product and get it in front of the masses. Industrial designers do that all the time. It's like, okay, these are the specs. This is how we're going to do it. We're going to switch this around. These Pantones, all those types of things. Video editors. But I always say, whatever surgical instrument that a doctor would use in an operating room, we are that scalpel and not a machete. Like a lot of companies are like, oh yeah, it's outsourcing and that kind of thing. But anyway, anything I can do, I'd
just
I'd
real
love to
quick,
help.
and we'll wrap things up. How can they get a hold of you?
You can send an email to my chief growth officer. Is someone that you can reach out to if you're looking to hire someone. John, Jon, at kj.com, John at kj. If you want to get a hold of me directly, and we can chat, and I'm going to put my name out here. I'm probably going to get blown up really quick here.
It'll happen again.
Here we go,
100
right?
emails.
But that's just going to be my first and last name at Gmail.
Awesome.
So find my name, find my last name, add that. If I say it right here, right now, I'm sure like spam will pick up the audio and make it really simple to spam the heck out of me. But absolutely. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Maximize your sales team's potential with Volcanic Retail University. Our courses cover everything from foundational retail knowledge to advanced strategies for established brands. Go to university.volcanicretail.io and use code RWG for 30% off.